Imagine this, you're barely 10 years old, a child bride forced into marriage before puberty, facing sexual assault, or being compelled to lie with your own uncle. Why? Because you were born into a royal lineage. This isn't historical fiction. This is the brutal reality of the past. We're counting down 5 shocking accounts of royal women's intimate lives, and the final revelation is so deeply disturbing it will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about the monarchy. Before we dive in, do us a quick favor. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next expose. And while you're at it, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. We love seeing where our royal rebels are located. Number 1, the wedding night was a public spectacle. Royal wedding nights were anything but a private, intimate affair. Queens were coerced into performing the marital act while dozens of courtiers lurked just outside, eagerly waiting to inspect the bloodied sheets as proof. Picture a new queen, in her magnificent gown, stepping into the bedchamber. But she is not alone. Intrusive witnesses stand directly in front of the door, demanding evidence that the deed has been successfully done. Royal wedding nights were never cozy or personal. They were a performance, a public theatrical spectacle known in Old Europe as the bedding ceremony. The newly married husband and wife were required to engage in private intimacy while friends and high-ranking officials kept watch nearby. Take Blanca of Navarre, who married King Henry IV of Castile in 1440. Rumors circulated about his inability to fulfill his duties as a husband, necessitating public witnessing as validation. The couple was serenaded with songs and crude jests as they were led to the marriage bed. The reason? To guarantee the marriage's legitimacy and prevent future succession disputes. Imagine the sheer terror this must have induced. These marital unions secured alliances between countries. Therefore, the presence of blood on the linen was mandatory, serving as irrefutable proof of the queen's virginity and the marriage's consummation. These stained sheets were then triumphantly displayed from the windows for the viewing crowd to cheer upon. In 14th century France, rituals akin to a religious blessing accompanied the ceremony. The Duke of Berry's priest and aides stripped the bride's clothing. Her stockings were even tossed out as lucky charms, turning a private moment into a crude, comedic game. But it wasn't funny. The queen faced immense pressure. A mistake could have ignited a war. In 16th century England, the tradition evolved slightly. King Henry VIII's wedding to Anne Boleyn was slightly less of a massive display, yet people still gossiped and watched intently. Historical records indicate that before the year 1700, over 70% of high-profile royal marriages were subject to observation. But what happened if the act failed? In 1725, King Louis XV married Marie Lesksinska. 100 dignitaries crowded the entryway, yet the king was too overwhelmed by shyness. The delay lasted days, fueling public whispers. This near failure almost nullified crucial international treaties. Poor Queen Margaret, only 15 years old in 1445, endured every precise detail of her night with the sickly King Henry VI being scrutinized, leading to lingering doubts about her son's true parentage. In Spain, the House of Habsburg took things further, even involving doctors. In 1526, Charles V married his cousin Isabella. A whole entourage stripped her naked, cheering as the curtains were drawn. Science confirms that these close family ties made the public viewing even more vital, as the birth of a disabled heir risked the loss of the throne. Put yourself in her position, your heart racing while strangers watched. Failure brought humiliation, like in 1795 with Prince George IV and Caroline. He got intoxicated and fled, but the officials still inspected the sheets and formally reported to the government. The most beautiful moment of love was weaponized into a mandatory duty. Even in the faraway Ottoman Empire, guards waited outside while the sultans performed the act. This appalling practice persisted until the 18th century. In 1770, Marie Antoinette's bed linens were discreetly checked at the magnificent Versailles Palace before being displayed. Here's a chilling fact. At the 1613 wedding of Elizabeth Stuart, 50 people watched while fireworks exploded outside, a terrifying and festive mix. Number 2, child brides, bodies forced before ready. Some royal girls were forced into marriage before their bodies were physically capable. Take Margaret Beaufort, who became pregnant at 12 and nearly died at 13. Royal families compelled young girls to marry as if they were merely property. Consider Margaret Beaufort. She was only 12 when she married the 24-year-old Edmund Tudor in 1455. They immediately consummated the intimate part, despite her being physically too underdeveloped. Shortly after, she conceived and gave birth to a son on January 28, 1457, at the age of 13. The prolonged labor pain was so severe it almost killed her. Her body was permanently damaged. She could never bear more children, even after 2 subsequent marriages. The War of the Roses demanded immediate heirs to secure power. Margaret's mother was not present at the birth in Pembroke Castle. She was isolated and terrified. Historians, like Michael K. Jones, suggest that her small pelvis may have required a terrible surgical cut. Historically, noble girls typically married around 14, but princesses were forced even younger. In 15th century England, 3 out of 10 girls aged 13 were married. Isabella of France married Edward II at 12. She bore a son at 17, but the early attempts created marital bitterness, leading to later conflicts. How many survived this ordeal? Studies show young mothers are 50% more likely to die during childbirth. Margaret's enduring pain likely stemmed from internal injuries. She later spoke words to the effect of, "I have passed through fire to bring forth a king." She used her suffering to found colleges in Cambridge. Even further back, in ancient Byzantium, Empress Theodora married in 527 at age 12 but remained childless. Clever women, like Eleanor of Aquitaine, waited despite her 13-year-old vows. But Margaret had no choice. Edmund died of illness before the baby was born, leaving her a 13-year-old mother with a frail son facing danger. What about the long-term effects? Science links early births to later infertility. Perhaps Margaret suffered from an unknown blood type intolerance. Her son, Henry, was small and sickly. In Spain, Princess Joanna the Mad married at 16, though a younger marriage was sought. Her eventual mental instability may have stemmed from the stress. These innocent girls were harmed while their fathers looked away. In ancient Rome, Julia married at 14 and had 5 children by 20. From damaged women, we move to twisted family lines. Now, the dark reason why royals married their own relatives and conceived weak babies will become clear. Number 3, incest. The cursed bloodline of kings. Incest was never a rumor, it was a calculated political strategy. Queens were coerced into marrying uncles, cousins, and even their own brothers to create dynasties that would inevitably produce sick, deformed heirs. Take a look at this bizarre family tree, where the husband is an uncle and brothers share the same queen. The goal was to keep the royal blood pure, but it resulted in twisted, broken bodies beneath the crowns. As dedicated fans of uncovering hidden history, we pull back the curtain on this dark truth. Incest wasn't gossip. It was the blueprint of royal houses. The Habsburgs were the most notorious practitioners. From 1516 to 1700, 9 out of 11 marriages were between close relatives. According to one detailed study, Charles II of Spain, born 1661, had an extreme level of inbreeding genetically equivalent to the child of a brother and sister. He suffered from a grotesque, oversized jaw that made eating difficult and a constant tremor that hindered his ability to father children. Why this self-destructive policy? To consolidate land and power, preventing its distribution to outsiders. Experts note that Philip II, who married his niece Anna in 1570, fathered children with severe congenital defects. The mortality rates are shocking. Half of all Habsburg babies over 200 years were either stillborn or died prematurely, a rate far exceeding the norm. What strange features resulted from this twisted gene pool? Charles V possessed a drastically protruding jaw, a feature often softened in official portraits. In ancient Egypt, rulers like Cleopatra married their brothers, Ptolemy 13 and 14, a tradition viewed as divine law. 3 out of 10 marriages were between full siblings. 7 out of 10 excavated royal Egyptian mummies exhibit strange deformities, including cleft palates. The gods may have demanded purity, but the human subjects suffered. In 1649, Maria Anna of Spain married her uncle, Ferdinand III. They had 6 children, 4 of whom died young, and the survivors were often sickly. Doctors wrote, "The king's jaw prevents chewing, and he drools." Those seeking to be strong became weak instead. Inca rulers married their sisters, resulting in deformed offspring confirmed by modern archaeological finds. While the Romanovs largely avoided this pattern, the hemophilia that plagued Nicholas II's family originated from his cousin ties to Queen Victoria. Genetic researchers like Gonzalo Alvarez confirmed that 88% of all Habsburgs exhibited negative genetic consequences. When Charles II died in 1700, his autopsy reportedly revealed a single testicle and a heart described as being the size of a peppercorn and entirely rotted inside. These decaying dynasties often compensated by seeking intimacy elsewhere. You're about to learn why queens were forced to plaster on a fake smile while kings filled their palaces with other women. Number 4. Trophy wives. The reign of the royal mistress. Queens were forced to endure the ultimate public humiliation. Their kings ran palace brothels, kept countless mistresses, and reduced their wives to mere trophies in their own marital beds. Welcome to the glittering but morally bankrupt world of Versailles, where the whispers of true love were brutally silenced. The queen sat on the throne, yet her feelings were constantly assaulted by other women. The Sun King, Louis XIV, who ruled from 1643 until 1715, openly installed his favorites. His beloved, Louise de la Valliere, bore him 4 children. Another, Madame de Montespan, produced 7. All were officially legitimized. Queen Marie Therese, married since 1660, suffered 14 years of open insult. Her bed remained empty while courtesans were honored before her. Why did she tolerate it? She needed heirs and political allies. Kings actively fathered additional children to secure their own power. Records state Louis XIV had 16 illegitimate children, while Marie had 6, with only 1 surviving childhood. England's King Henry VIII had mistresses like Elizabeth Blount, who in 1519 bore him a son named Henry Fitzroy, a child acknowledged by all. Even as Queen Catherine lost 5 children. Henry had over 10 lovers. Queens were routinely shamed, forced to travel with the king's mistresses riding by their side. What if a queen fought back? And Boleyn started as a mistress, rising to queen in 1533. But when Henry wanted Jane Seymour, he fabricated charges and had and executed in 1536. One contemporary chronicler wrote, "The king makes a spectacle of his new love affairs. The queen pretends she knows nothing." In France, kings normalized this behavior. Agnes Sorel became powerful during the reign of Charles VII, 1444, actively pushing Queen Marie aside. Financial ledgers show that mistresses received astronomical sums. The queen, meanwhile, was sidelined. Mistresses produced robust children, like Louis XIV's 13 bastards, in stark contrast to the queen's sole surviving child. In Ottoman lands, sultans maintained up to 300 concubines. Henry II of France died in 1559 fighting for his longtime lover, Diane de Poitiers. Queen Catherine de' Medici watched, and then had Diane banished. Historians like Robert Connect chronicle her quiet revenge. Here is a bizarre secret. Madame de Maintenon, Louis XIV's final mistress, secretly married him in 1683 after the queen's death, acting as queen for 32 years. But the violation runs deeper. Find out why a princess's first sexual experience was treated like a public affair, where her intimate anatomy was checked as if it were a ticket. If this secret history is blowing your mind, please hit the like button right now, and tell us in the comments. What royal family has the most disturbing secret so far? We read every single comment. Number 5. Virginity, the political passport. A princess's virginity was never a private matter. It was publicly examined by doctors and priests. Her purity was treated as a political passport. Imagine a princess, draped in silk, standing before strangers who minutely scrutinize her body. It was a key to a country's alliance. Every intimate detail meticulously reviewed by the state. In our final, major revelation, reserved for sharp eyes like yours, we reveal how royal women were inspected to ensure they would not embarrass their nations. Marie Antoinette arrived in France in 1770 at age 14. Her body and marriage were intensely watched for 7 long years when no child appeared after the wedding. Her brother, Joseph II, intervened in 1777, demanding answers. It's speculated that Louis XVI had a physical condition that prevented consummation. Weddings frequently ended in war if purity was compromised. In 18th century Europe, 8 out of 10 royal brides were physically examined. Imagine it, doctors touching them. Priests are praying over them. In ancient Castile, Joanna of Portugal, 1455, had to prove her intact state to John II. In ancient Rome, non-virginal Vestal virgins were killed. Margaret of Austria, 3 years after her engagement, endured an examination to prove her innocence. 18th and 19th century France reportedly saw over 20 such examinations. Catherine Howard, queen to Henry VIII in 1540, was executed in 1542 because of her past lovers. The court investigated her innocence. Letters stated, "Old lovers spoke. That was her end." Ottoman girls were checked by female guards for their chastity before they could marry a sultan. Strange, guarded, yet always on display, just like Marie Antoinette, whose delivery bed was half public, surrounded by a jeering crowd. The cold steel, the hostile gazes, the lingering pain, it all remained. Marie later wrote that the shame made her intensely unhappy. If you want to uncover more videos like this, hit like and subscribe to the channel right now. And don't forget to click the link on the screen to watch our latest video. Thank you for watching.